Okay, hello everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good whatever time of the day it is you are watching this. All right, so I'm going to do a little screen capture video to kind of guide you through the first parts of this performance task. If you remember, we did a performance task for World Geography last semester around October, November. Where you had to look at several different sources and you used them to write a little guided essay. And this is kind of the same thing, but we're going to be doing it for world history. You're going to have 7 world history sources coming from the classical period. The classical period being that period between 600 BCE and 600 CE Common Era. And so let's look at the directions right here. So we have closely read and examine the sources provided. In order to complete a series of source analysis tasks that result in a thesis statement and multi-paragraph outline. The sources and tasks relate to the following evidence-based prompt, which is analyze the factors that most directly contributed to the development and growth of trans-regional trade in the classical period. This is very important. Because the trade that came about across the world in the classical period went on to be the foundation for how trade happened in the next historical period we're going to look at, which is the post-classical period. This is where we start seeing, like the knights in the medieval period and the domination of Christianity over Europe. And a lot of these trade routes continued to be a thing or continued to be traded upon in this new era. So what we're going to do, we're going to look at this evidence-based prompt. So task A, analyze the prompt. And this is going to be broken down in some of the activities you're going to do in a minute. So you focus on breaking down the prompt, access prior knowledge, and sort the evidence. So task B, build the thesis from evidence. So going back to task A, so you want to kind of break apart the prompt. So if you haven't yet, try and kind of make some notes about the prompt. So it's asking us to look at the factors that most directly contributed. So there are probably a lot of different factors that contributed to the development and growth of trade in the classical period, but which ones were the most critical or important? Looking at the sources that caused the growth and development of transregional trade in the classical period. Okay, so that's a pretty good breaking down of the prompt we just did. Task B, build the thesis. So your thesis statement is you stating a fact that you thought up on your own, an original thought that you backed up from evidence. So a thesis is kind of like in science, how you make an educated guess. A thesis in history is when you look at different pieces of evidence and you have an idea about how something happened. So this is what we're doing with the prompt. So the prompt is directing us to make a thesis. And so your thesis will, we're going to build on that. So analyze the evidence, generate initial claims, draft a thesis, and contextualize the thesis. So contextualize it. So place it in its proper period or its proper place in the history we're talking about. So we're not talking about, the American Revolution, obviously. We're talking about, ancient Rome, ancient Greece, these periods that are more than 2,000 years old, right? Okay, so that's task B. Task C, create an outline. So create an outline using topic sentences and supporting details. And that will be the last thing you do. And we'll talk more about that when we get to it. So first off, we're going to go ahead and just look at these sources that relate to the prompt, remember. So excerpt from Pericles' speech marking recent Athenian war deaths. As recorded by Thucydides in the history of the Peloponnesian War, 5th century BCE. So the Peloponnesian War Take you a minute to guess which civilization that war happened in. It was in Greece. It was between the Athenians and the Spartans. So let's see what it says. So, and we have not forgotten to provide for our weary spirits many relaxations from toil. Our homes are beautiful and elegant, and the delight which we daily feel in all these things helps to banish sorrow. Because of the greatness of our city, the fruits of the whole earth flow in upon us, so that we enjoy the goods of other countries as freely as our own. Look at that. What do we see right there? So because of the greatness of our city, so talking a lot about everything that's happened after the war. So the war is over, and so Thucydides is kind of talking about the good things we have now. So like what do we have? What do we have stock of? So he's starting to talk about a lot of the beautiful things that we have, like what we have. Our daily lives are a lot better. So because the greatness of our city, the fruits of the whole earth flow in upon us, so that we enjoy the goods of other countries as freely as our own. So they're enjoying the goods of other countries. So there's a trade going on. So the war has brought a lot of trade to Greece, the Greek cities, Athens, Sparta, Marathon, and what have you. So there's a lot of trade going into these large cities in Greece. So our city is thrown up open to the trade of the world, and we never expel the foreigner or prevent him from seeing or learning anything of which the secret, if revealed to an enemy, might profit him. So they don't throw out foreigners. They have no quarrel or they have no problem with foreigners coming into trade, or some other things here. They state to expel a foreigner or prevent him from seeing or learning anything. So they don't mind people coming in to maybe be educated, to go to school, or learn a trade. They don't mind that either. So while they're having people come in and learn something, they're probably having a lot of people coming in and teaching Greeks too. So maybe you get these travelers from China, from the Han Dynasty of China, coming in and teaching the Greeks about some things they've discovered that the Greeks don't know about yet. So you're getting this interplay of trade. So you're getting this give and take between these different civilizations that foreigners might bring to Greece. Okay, so Greece and of course Athens, of course, it has no problem trading with foreigners or with foreign countries, and they have no problem with learning or teaching these visitors as well. All right, I'm going to skip source 2. Still look at source 2. I'm just not going to. I'm kind of limited on time here. There's a 15-minute limit to these videos. All right, so source 3, remnants of the Roman roads in modern-day Jordan in the Middle East. First image, so that's the first image right here. And Spain is in the second image. So constructed between 3rd century BCE, so around 300 BCE, and 2nd century CE. So kind of a big gap there. Time. So these are Roman roads. One is in the Middle East. We're not sure where. Maybe somewhere around the Jordan area, Palestine, Israel, perhaps, along the Mediterranean. Then right here is one from Spain. So you can see there these roads are fairly intact for being nearly 2,000 years old. Okay, so they're well taken care of. You can see right there, there's a little, there's like this slit running through the road, perhaps some kind of a drainage ravine for rainwater to kind of flow out through, so it doesn't damage the road or erode the road too much. So it's worth noting that these roads are still around, and who knows if they've been kept up by people throughout time in the last 2,000 years. But I think it's also worth mentioning that these roads are very durable. So obviously, these roads were able to be traveled down for a very, very, very long time without having any wear or tear or being destroyed. So despite Rome falling over and collapsing as a civilization over 2,000 years ago, these roads can still be used. You can still drive down them. There are probably roads in some of our cities that don't look as good as some of these roads right here. So we could say that the durability of these roads and the security of them allowed for efficient trade routes to be possible, and so trading was you could say trading was enabled, or it was convenient for people. It was not dangerous, or it was not you didn't have to worry about how you were going to get there. Oh, you just went down the Roman roads. So it was very convenient, and to have these roads here all the time. And even after Rome collapsed, you still had these roads, and whatever civilizations or cities lasted when the Roman Empire collapsed, they probably still used these roads for trade. So so trade was allowed to kind of continue even though Rome collapsed. Trade between different merchants and other groups was able to continue and help the beginnings and foundation of a new civilization. So you can continue to look at those and glean other information from that, but right now I'm gonna move on. All right, so source 4, excerpt from Chao Sou's Memorial on the Encouragement of Agriculture, written in 178 BCE before Common Era. So Chao Su was a statesman within the Han Empire. So now pearls, jewels, gold, and silver can neither allay hunger nor keep out the cold. And yet the people all hold them dear because they are things used by the ruler. They are light and easy to store, and one who holds them in his grasp may roam the world and never fear hunger or cold. They cause ministers lightly to turn their backs upon their lords, and the people easily to leave their villages. They provide an incentive for thieves and a light form of wealth for fugitives. So he's saying right here, kind of precious stones like pearls, jewels, gold, and silver are not very valuable. I mean, they're nice to look at, and they could be used as currency maybe in place of like paper money, but they're easy to steal. They don't really do much. You can't eat them. So there's not a lot of use in them. And then he goes on to say grains. So like, grains made for bread, and fibers, on the other hand, are produced from the land, nurtured through the seasons, and harvested with labor. They cannot be gotten in a day. Several measures of grain or cloth are too heavy for an average man to carry, and so provide no reward for crime and evil. So it kind of, it diminishes crime if you trade grains and fibers instead of, precious stones. So yet, if people go without them for one day, they will face hunger and cold. Therefore, an enlightened ruler esteems the 5 grains and despises gold and jewels. So right here, so this is the Han Dynasty in China, and he's saying right here, it is much better for a ruler to put stock in food and the trading of food rather than the trade of like stones and pearls and jewels, because they're made through labor. They're hard to steal from, like a simple thief cannot easily steal a bundle of wheat and get much out of it. So it's much better for a ruler to focus on producing grains and wheat. And that's about all the time we have for this video. I'm going to move on to the next video in part 2, so look for that.